Hey YouTube, this is Holly Seelger with my show Zoan Politicon, the political animal, and welcome new subscribers. I'm up to over 300 subscriptions now, so welcome everyone, and if you like my videos, please comment and let me know what your ideas are. I've been getting a lot of great comments, and I try to respond to as many of them as I can, and I really appreciate your input, your information. If you can provide links to your thoughts, and if you have other info you can share with me, please do so. So I've got an interesting article here. This is pretty, this goes under the yes, this is obvious sort of file or section of my show where Holly points out the obvious. So I've got, according to the Portland Press Herald, which is like the largest newspaper in Portland. I'm not sure who owns it now. I think David Sussman does. I don't know. I guess he bought it as like a philanthropic project to try to keep newspapers alive in Portland. But we also have the BDN. But the thing that drives me nuts about the Portland Press Herald website is they limit you to the whole 10 articles a month thing. Otherwise, you have to like get a subscription. So this is my last article of the month. Thanks, Portland Press Herald. So this article is called "Landlords Are Increasingly Owning the U.S. Housing Market," and this came out yesterday, so February 23rd, 2017. One factor is smaller investors, particularly those who have already paid off their mortgages on the homes they live in, who see rental properties as an attractive way to save for retirement. So yeah, this is mostly a baby boomer phenomena. This is upper middle to upper class sort of phenomena too, where people are like, gee, housing's like a great investment, and we can pack it full of renters who don't have the credit to buy a home, and we can charge them whatever we want. And the markets are insane right now in Portland. And I try to ask about other places around the U.S., and people say it's very expensive. It's extremely expensive in Maine, and even like super tiny coffin apartments around here are very expensive, and a lot of it is people are even renting a second apartment, or they have a home someplace and they rent an apartment up here, and then they can charge Airbnb, and that's even driving up the rents even more. So people are moving out of the city into Biddeford, Westbrook, the suburbs, the greater Portland metro area, and those places are just as expensive too. So what is going on? What's going on is people are spending more and more of their paycheck on rent, and I think it's multi-pronged because of this. It has to do a lot with the housing bubble, and we're still in a recession after the housing bubble in 2008, and millennials are in massive student loan debt, so they don't have the credit to purchase a home, or they have to get like private loans, or it's a lot harder. And we have the apartments are getting smaller, and the price is going up more. So my dad jokes, he's not even joking, he's telling the truth, how he used to rent an entire house with his friends for $200 a month. And at first I couldn't believe it. Now when he says it, we both kind of sigh and look sad, and it's like a joke, but it's like, oh my god, what is going on? Because the price, what we get paid per hour, the average worker, has not gone up that much to compare with the price. Let's say even if it was $2,000 a month for a whole house, which would be a good deal around here, $2,000 for a house a month, and he could split it with all of his buddies, and that's a really good deal. But you can't imagine that the average wages have gone up 10 times since the early 80s when he was renting that house. So that's just my thoughts about that real quick before we even get into this. As rising home prices slow new home construction and demographic shifts push home ownership rates to a 50-year lows, the U.S. is increasingly a country of renters and landlords. Last year, 37% of homes sold were acquired by buyers who didn't live in them, according to tax assessments data compiled in a new report published by Atom Data Solutions and ClearCapital.com, Inc. The number may include second homes, properties acquired by investors who seek to fix up old homes and resell them at a profit. but it's also a strong indication that landlords are playing a larger role in the U.S. housing market. In the years following the foreclosure crisis, Wall Street drove a rise in the share of homes purchased by landlords as private equity firms bought thousands of cheap homes. In 2012, institutional investors accounted for 7.8% of home sales, according to the report. So let's go back a little while. Like, this is almost a decade ago, so I know it's almost completely gone in collective consciousness, but during the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, people's homes were being foreclosed on because of the countrywide home loans, and people were getting they were borrowing against their homes. I forgot what that's called. They can refinance their mortgage and get a bunch of money back, but then like you have to pay that at higher interest rates, and people did this refinancing their homes like over and over again, and Countrywide was notorious for this, and the 2008-2009, the bubble is blamed on the housing market crisis. So people's homes were being foreclosed. I knew of many people, and during the Occupy movement, a lot of that involved people staying in foreclosed homes, trying to battle these companies from taking them back, lawyering up, and seeing how long they can drag it on so that people can stay in their homes as long as they can. And the thing is, once these homes were foreclosed, like we saw it even here in Portland and all across Maine, the homes would be empty for years. Like, the bank would own it, and you try to look up, okay, who actually owns this condemned property or this place that's been sitting here empty? Well, the bank bought it up super cheap, and they haven't done anything on it. They're going to wait for it to dilapidate, and then they can put a high-rise there. Basically, it's like, and these are like historic homes too. Like, Portland has one of the largest Victorian era neighborhoods in the United States. So I can take a walk around, and I am literally walking to the past. And people spend a lot of money maintaining these homes. It's very beautiful. But the thing is like, when a bank buys up the home and they don't even live in it, it goes to waste. Or with landlords, people will buy it. Their landlord won't even live in the state. They've never even met their landlord. They have a bunch of people crammed in here. Young people, lots of college students all cram into these big old wooden houses. And we had a fire a couple of years ago, and several college students, young people, died in that fire. And the landlord he went to jail. He didn't go to jail. He went to trial. And I think he selected to have a judge go over his case, and he was, I believe he was acquitted of any wrongdoing. But the thing is people let these homes basically fall apart and dilapidate, get as much money as they can, and people don't complain. They don't know their rights, and people are afraid that if they complain about the state of their homes, they will end up homeless because the building can be condemned or deemed unfit. And then where are you going to go at that point? So people stay in these places that aren't safe. So anyway, rising home prices led big investors to curtail their purchases, and the share of homes acquired by institutional investors fell to 2.9% last year. But as Wall Street backed off, smaller investors picked up the slack, aided by tools developed to help big investors find, finance, and manage rental properties. Smaller investors, particularly those who have already paid off their mortgages on their homes they live in, see rental properties as an attractive way to save for retirement. Or in some cases, it is someone's retirement. Basically, they paid off their home, they buy some rental properties, it's stable, it's super stable, it's a great investment. Especially around here, the value is only going to go up. To some extent, they're focused their resources on cheaper markets because the profit margins are better at lower price points, said Darian Blomquist, Senior Vice President at Atom Data Solutions. In Seattle, where the median home price was $414,000 at the end of last year, the annual share of sales to non-occupiers peaked in 2013 at 23%. But in cheaper Dallas, where the median home price was $201,000, the share of homes sold to people who don't live in them nearly doubled over the last 12 years. Wow. Okay. The share of homes sold to people who don't live in them nearly doubled over the past 12 years. So this just isn't like a little thing, oh, I'm starting to notice this. It's like a whole generation of people are now renters. There's no more, 2.5 kids and a house with a white picket fence, and people are working. If you're in a relationship with a couple, both people have to work just to be able to pay rent, never mind a house. Whether the rise of rental landlord is a positive development is an open question, said Blomquist. On one hand, landlords are filling a need that exists because of the low home ownership rates. They may also be crowding out folks that want to be homeowners but can't compete with investors. So yeah, so that's that article, and I think I've spoken quite a bit about my thoughts about the topic. The thing is some places are starting to look into rent control or caps on rent, or they can't raise the rent a bunch by a large percentage each year. There's a cap on how much they can raise it each year. After the massive fire of the home that burned down and people died in, there was a coalition or a working group of city council and landlords and local people in the community to figure out how they could improve rent conditions and safety of rental conditions and affordable rent. And pretty much none of that came up, It was just like something that got dragged out for a long time. I think they did put a small cap on how much they can raise it per year. But as far as like safety and giving people a larger notice before a longer notice, like 90 days or something, or 120 days before you get kicked out, because it takes months and months to find an apartment. So that's just some of my thoughts about renting and what I think is going on. People are going to be forced into smaller and smaller units. People are no longer buying land. They can't buy land. Like, my dream someday is to own some land and like have a garden. Like, I love, when I grew up as a kid, I helped a lot in the garden, and I help other people with their gardens when I can. And I love to grow food and herbs and flowers, and that's a lot of fun for me. But having an apartment, maybe I can find some place where I can rent someone's land, I guess. Just so that people can grow food. The public gardens here have plots, and it's like a 6-year waiting list. So who knows? It could happen someday. But if you have thoughts about rent, if you're a renter, if you're a landlord, I want to hear about you too. Like, it would be awesome to be a landlord. Like, I know it's a whole lot of responsibility, and it's more about like the people who are using it just to be making profits and more profits and more profits, and they don't care about the status of the people that live in their units. It's all just, get rich quick scheme for a lot of people. That's what drives me nuts. And the fact that student loans have really blocked out the whole millennial generation and Generation Z when they get of age from being able to get a mortgage or a home loan. So let me know what you think. I hope you have a nice day.